Hello, excellent people. Today's video is going to be about time. I know I already spoke about time earlier in the week or last week, about a week ago, but this time it's going to be about taking your time. So today's video is for those of you who find yourself always running out of time. In particular, I want to talk about taking your time with regard to goals. I think that there are some really good goal setting metrics out there, or not metrics, kind of rules of thumb, I guess is the way to describe them, that talk about time sensitivity in the goals. And I think time sensitivity is a super key component in goal setting, especially if you are sort of a beginner at setting goals. But I believe that the more advanced you are at setting goals, or the more broad based your goals are, the more important it is to have a more fluid feel of time associated with them. In particular, there's actually a technique that I can point to that even changes the way you think about time with regard to your goals. This is something I've been using in my personal life and actually coaching some of my friends and fellow business people with for, I don't know, I think I've been coaching them with this for at least 4 years, and I've been using it in my life for probably 8. But the method in a nutshell is you take a goal and you set a time, and then you work backwards from that and you say, what would I have to do daily or weekly to achieve that goal in that time, right? And let's give a really simple one, right? I want to read 1,000 books in 10 years. I don't know, whatever, right? So if you break that down, that means that's what, 100 books a year, right? Which means that's 100 divided by 12, which is, I don't know, like 80. It's like 8-ish. We'll call it 9. Um, so you're reading between 8 and 9 books a month in order to get to 1,000 books a year, right? Then you can break it down into pages or whatever. The point, though, if you see that, is now you set a goal that's a monthly goal, not a 10-year goal, but your monthly goal is informed by your 10-year goal, okay? So now what you say is, well, I want to be reading 8 or 9 books a month. And let's say that you really do the due diligence of breaking it down and say, the way to accomplish this goal is to read for, we'll call it 15 hours per week, okay? If you're reading for 15 hours per week, you could break it down to a daily, but I would argue that there's a level of granularity that becomes actually or unhelpful, we'll call it. There's a level of granularity that becomes unhelpful because let's say you really truly cannot read 2 hours a day every day. And if you challenged yourself to do so, you would fail. But you can read 6 hours every Saturday and 2 hours on Monday and 2 hours on Tuesday and 4 hours on Wednesday. You get where I'm going with this, right? So maybe you do that right there where you say, okay, well, I want to read 15 hours a week and I know I can get a bunch of it done on one day. And so I'm going to set a specific goal of reading X amount on that one day. And then you're going to be a bit more lenient with how you get it done the other days, unless you find yourself consistently missing the mark. Okay. So this is an example to show how you can set a time-based goal without actually using time in the goal itself because you've worked backwards. And I really like this because I think that people are unrealistic with their time expectations. I think that people are very consistently ignorant of the sacrifices, of what the sacrifices are really going to look like in order to achieve their goals in the time that they want. I think that people don't sufficiently prioritize their lives. And, like, for example, I believe that you cannot have more than 5 priorities in your life. And I also believe that 5 is almost unachievable unless you have good infrastructure supporting your goals. I mean, I'm talking like well developed over years kind of infrastructure. And frankly, support of the people around you. Like, you need really strong supporters in your life who encourage and facilitate your pursuit of your goals in order to have 5. So let me give you an example. I have 4 goals in my life. My goals are the growth of my business, the maintenance and growth of my relationship with my wife, the maintenance and further development of my home. I have a 11-acre property that I live on that's a bit of a hobby farm. And number 4 is my physical health and well-being and exercise and sport. And it's kind of a catch-all category because, like, for example, here in a bit, I'm gonna go play some tennis with my wife. I practice jujitsu regularly. I lift weights regularly. I run once a week. There's a bunch of different things that kind of fall into that catch-all category. And the interesting thing there is, if you're listening closely, you heard, I'm going to go play tennis with my wife, right? And that's a great thing too, is if you have categories that can be compatible and you can hit them both at the same time, you'll have greater success. But I just listed, those are the 4 things. Like, truly, if you ask me what I'm doing with my time, I'm doing one of those 4 things without a doubt. In fact, this new project, this Aim at Excellence thing, is potentially going to upend my priorities, where I'm going to have to figure out how does Aim at Excellence fit into that, because technically it's not a part of my other business. So we'll see. But I would really say that if you really truly wanted to get shit done, 2 priorities is all you can have. But if you have a significant other, that person has to be one of your 2 priorities, or they have to be a really, really, really forgiving person who you've made some sort of arrangement with, where you said, look, honey, I love you, but for the next 6 months, you're hardly going to see me. And if they say, okay, well, then they're an admirable partner, I will tell you that. But you better make it worth their while, because you keep on rolling back with more 6-monthers, and eventually they're going to say, okay, well, I'm going to go find someone who's going to pay attention to me. So that's kind of where I'm at with the prioritization. And I think that people don't do that as a foundational thing before they set time-based goals. And so they end up with unrealistic expectations of their time-based goals because they didn't properly account for all their other priorities that are robbing time, or won't even say robbing, but that are taking time that could be spent on the goal. So then they hit their time mark and they've fallen short and they get unhappy. So I want to kind of circle back around to sort of a positive thing. And that is, people get really ambitious with their time-based goals because they're afraid that if they don't do it quickly, they won't do it at all. And this is where, if you've listened to my previous videos, you'll have heard me talk about the relational aspect of, say, fitness and health and well-being, right? I believe you should have a relational aspect with your goals. I believe that if you, instead of being time focused, you are relationship focused, and you say, I am continuing to put in work and develop and build and maintain and grow my relationship with my goals, then you will continue working towards them, and you will eventually get to where you are intending to go. And it may not be as fast as you expected. It may not be as slow as you expected either. You'd be surprised. But it will be much more psychologically tolerable in the meantime. The doing of the work will feel like a relationship in which you benefit from every interaction, rather than a chore trying to get you to some end stage. And the hidden benefit in this is it will cause you to appreciate each individual interaction along the way to that goal more than if you were so end stage focused, where you're always doing everything for that payout. So I'll leave it at that for now. This is going to be a recurring topic because I've got a lot to say about time. I've got a lot to say about how time fits into goals, and I've got a lot to say about how time fits into people's expectations of the present and the future. But for now, why don't you hop on the comments, tell me what you thought about this, tell me if there's spots that made sense or spots that didn't. And until next time, keep aiming at excellence daily.